Good afternoon, you guys. My name is Michelle Habari.
And I'm Jen Houlette.
And our presentation today is called Beyond the Books, Technology and the TL. And we kind of came up with this idea, we are both teacher librarians. We came up with this idea because we kind of struggle sometimes with our different roles that we have in the schools. And one of my personal pet peeves is when we say, I just want to do library stuff, meaning literacy things and book things, you know, kind of yearning for the old days where we would just read books. Or maybe when we have teachers come to us and say, we really need you to do technology today, or we need you to do media today, and really we're thinking that our role is all of those things. So what we really want to try to do today is present some ways that we can use technology in every aspect of our job as teacher librarians, and also to use technology to make, hopefully, make your life easier.
All right, so we're going to introduce ourselves just so you kind of know who we are. My name is Jen Houlette. I'm a K-5 teacher librarian in the Southeast Polk schools, and I'm at 3 of them. All 3 of them total up to about 63 sections of students. So it's about 1,450 students. So it's a lot of classes and a lot of teachers, 63 teachers plus other teachers I collaborate with too, not just the classroom teachers. How I got here is I started out in special ed, so I have a special ed background, and then I jumped at the chance to go to my favorite grade, which is 4th grade, so I was there for 18 years. And then a couple years ago, I was approached with the idea of filling a spot for a retiring teacher librarian, and I thought that was a great idea because I know they were trying to push a little bit more technology, but then I found out that it would also come with like more schooling. I already had my master's, and I was done with that, and I really hesitated because I didn't want to go back to school, but now I've only got a couple classes left, and I'm really glad I made the switch. So I get to combine 2 of my passions, which is reading and technology. I really started doing more technology my last few years of 4th grade when we started to get Chromebooks and we had a little bit more access, and so I started trying things, and that really gave me an idea for possibly taking this position, be able to spread that out to more classrooms and more teachers. So that's kind of my background.
And my name is Michelle Habari. I am our 7-12 teacher librarian at Southeast Polk. So I have the junior high, I also have the high school. I am not on a fixed schedule, so I see teachers kind of on demand as needed. But between the 2 buildings, we have about 3,000 kids. So when we do set up a collaboration, it keeps me busy for a good week or 2. My experience is a little bit different. My path is a little bit non-traditional. So I actually started out as a band director, and I was out of education for a while, and now this is my 4th year as teacher librarian. And what I love about my job is it's something that offers me new opportunities every single day. So I never know exactly what it's going to be, even when I think I do. A lot of things change. But sharing my love of reading, helping staff and students find what they're looking for, teaching students to really kind of navigate through different technologies, different sources of information is what I love because it keeps my job fresh every day. All right, and so like we kind of said at the very beginning, what we wanted to talk a little bit is technology and how it fits into the role of the teacher librarian. And so Jen and I kind of talked together, and these are the things that we feel are sort of our priorities. So the first thing is promote literacy. We instruct in information literacy. We're supporting core instruction for staff and students with the best resources and tools we can find. So there's plenty of resources available, but what are the best ones and how do they fit? And then the last thing is administration. So kind of those nuts and bolts, and at least for me, I feel like that's the time that I spend the least. I have the least amount of time for that because the first 3 are really where our students and staff are, and that's where at least where I want to spend my time. Yeah. And I think the other note we had down here is today we're talking about technology that we've used, but we both try to approach the technology we use with staff and students as what is the learning goal first, and then what technology would help this, make this easier, make it more engaging for students. We try not to start with the tool and crush it into something we're trying to teach. It's really important to start with the learning in mind and then add the technology later. All right, so this is the fun part. You guys all are excited to do this, I am sure. But we have a couple ways that we'd like you to participate today. So a few of you have already noticed we have just a few memes around the room. I have a few iPads that you are able to use if you would like. But what we did is we are using the Layer app here. So you can scan these memes with the Layer app. This is a virtual reality app. And so when you scan it using AR, something will pop up and you'll actually have just a sneak peek at some of the things that we're going to show you today. So you can be up moving around doing that. If you need a device, there are these iPads here that you can use. Another way that you can get involved is to go to our Padlet. So we would love to hear questions or other suggestions that you might have. So we have a Padlet link here as well. And I guess, anything I forget about that?
No, we'll kind of check on that and see what questions you have as we go.
We'll take just a few minutes to kind of go through this, so I'd encourage you to get out of your seats for just a few minutes, maybe come and take a look, try using the Layer app.
We have 7 iPads where it's already loaded on, and that's what it looks like, little blue square with the AR. Or if you want to try it on your own, you can download it.
Yep, you just scan it, should take you right to the information there. There's still 4 more iPads up here. We've got plenty of space. There you go. It is working. Yes. It should be looking for, but yes, you will. Yeah. Yeah, you will. Thank you. That was something we didn't get on.
The one on the red iPad is down at the bottom.
There we go. Oh, really? Remember. I try that flip. Did it take it or no? Oh, man. Isn't it 20 cut? Oh, that's what I did. Yeah. You will have to get the Wi-Fi up and running. I didn't think of that just yet. Okay, here's one more that's ready to go if anyone's interested. I'll switch down. So do you think that would work the way you were kind of thinking of? Was it really? The creation side is really easy, and I can kind of show you that when we're done if you want. I think it's kind of like using a link or something like that. Link here and stuff. It works really well through web links. That's the one that I have the most success with. The video, not as much, but the web links seem to work pretty well. And then you can get a little creative on what you post as like a picture for it. If someone just doesn't dig in it, it's not happening. Okay, so then you can click on that. That should take you to where you want to go.
If you're scanning it and it's just showing a link to a slide, click on the slide and it will open up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, here's one more that's ready if anyone is still kind of looking for a device.
So click there on the slide.
So now if you click here, it'll take you to what we're looking for.
If you went around the first time and all you saw was a slide come up, click on the slide and then it will open up the link.
we'll take just a minute or two more, and then we'll kind of get back into present mode.
I think that'd be cool to do with students. You know, they could link whatever they wanted to a picture, and then, yeah. Yeah, that makes it, which is, otherwise it just shows it. What? Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, like scan it and put like a picture of them. Yeah.
All right, if you guys would do us a favor and just head on back to your seats, and we'll continue. And we'll talk a little bit more about layer and maybe some other uses you might decide to use for it and kind of how it works here in a few minutes. Thanks for those of you who got up and were moving around, and you know, those of you that are in our presentation and kind of looking around, thank you for doing that. All right, so the first role of the teacher librarian, and kind of the one a lot of us maybe think of first, is literacy promotion. So a few things that I've done, and a few of these were linked to our beams, but we did we called it bookmatch.com, so it's supposed to be like match.com, only it's about books, so it was bookmatch. I wanted students to be learning about fiction genres. These were both 7th and 8th grade students, so they have some frame of reference for that word, but we don't always have a lot of time to talk about that. So they had a chance to come into the library. We did a very short direct instruction on what fiction genres were, and then they had time to go to a PolSnack personality quiz. And so kind of like we set it up like, you know, like you would go to a dating site, you fill out a bunch of questions about yourself, and then it shows you a bunch of matches. And so just like this, you can go to PolSnack, you take this quiz, and it'll show you a whole genre that you're matched with, and we had those sections set out in the library so they could kind of get to a different, maybe a different genre that they wouldn't have considered before. So students came in, had that direct instruction, they went to computers, Chromebooks, and just took a quick quiz. And so just to show you the quiz that we looked at here, these hopefully, there we go. So this was something I set up on PolSnack. It took just a few minutes to do. It was not difficult. And I was able to be a little bit silly with the different questions that I want, but you can actually take the test. How do you like to spend your free time? And so for each question, I set up a different answer, and that answer had a genre associated with it. So at the end, and it's a very short quiz, 5 questions, it looked at how many of each one the person answered and gave them that result. And it was really fun to watch kids do that, because if it was, especially if it was not to gender stereotype, but if it was a boy that got matched with romance, they would go back through several times to, try to get something different. And we would talk, we also staged this around Valentine's Day. So we had a photo booth over here. We had hearts in the walls. We had all of our shelves decorated with pink paper, and we really played up the matching aspect of it. So we talked about, if you have a genre that you've been assigned to, it's just like if you're dating, somebody asks you out online, you don't have to go out with them, right? You can still make your own choice, or you can stick with what you've always known and see if you get a better result. And then because junior high kids really like getting their picture taken, we set up a little photo booth with props. And so this is Alex and Brandon with their true matches right there getting their picture taken. PolSnack is also great if you want to group students in some sort of way. So you could group them, you could differentiate your students based on what they know, set up a short quiz about some learning objective that you have. You could also just set it up based on learning styles. So it's a great way to sort kids as well. I should go back to oops, no, just kidding. All right, and then another literacy promotion that I did using technology was sort of a choose your own book talk. When I have students come in, I like to sort of center it around a theme. So this one, for example, is at the 8th grade. They were using the power of words was their unit. So that was their topic. And that could be, they were kind of researching or finding out about any sort of important topic, something that they would want to change. So a lot of kids were talking about bullying, some kids were talking about hunger, different things that they wanted to kind of explore. So we set up several different topics and had several different books on each one of those topics. So this is an example of our bullying setup. And so using ThingLink and then the green screen, they had a chance to sort of filter through on their own selection. So that maybe if they chose bullying, they would end up on a page that looked like this. And then what the ThingLink does for you, if you haven't seen it before, ThingLink is wonderful. It's, again, super easy to use. This is a ThingLink I created with several different bullying books. So each one of these circles has some information. So these are built around Lions of Little Rock. This is Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. And so what I try to do when I set up ThingLink is provide them a book summary. So they're getting the information they may have gotten from me about the book, but they're reading it instead of me saying it. I try to find like some sort of connection to the author if I can, and then I try to find some sort of video. So it's sort of like a self-guided book talk. Instead of me focusing on 5 different books and saying it over and over and over and over and over, a student could spend the whole 15 minutes on just one book and really dig deeply. They could scan all 5 of those really quickly and then go on to another topic. The other thing I did to kind of make it hopefully a little bit easier for them is I did a book talk kind of going through all of those books relatively quickly, but I did it over video. So they could start with the video if they wanted to, learn a little bit about each of those books. I didn't have to give the book talk umpteen different times. I just did it once on screen, and then they got to interact with that. For me, one of my challenges last year was to learn how to use green screen, so I decided to do my book talk over video and over green screen. And my only drawback to that was I didn't really want to look at all those videos of myself, and then when students came in, I realized I even less wanted to hear all those videos by myself. So headphones are important for that activity, but the kids really enjoyed it, and it really got a lot of kids interested in those different topics. I also put together just kind of a, if you like this book, read this one, because by the end of the first couple days, all of the books we had kind of previewed work on. But anyway, there's just a couple suggestions.
All right, this is an activity that I did with my students. I actually did it with 4th and 5th graders last year and look forward to doing it again this year. We did a little bit of app smashing. It was right before the book fair, and so I was, talking to them about what books that they've read so far and what they're interested in seeing coming up at the book fair. So I had them do book recommendations for anything they had read from, the summertime up to that point. I think it was about this time last year in October. And so they went on Google Drive and they basically made a little book poster promoting their book. They could give it however many stars they wanted to. They had to do some text and they could import a picture. And then we took their links and then put that onto Padlet so that we could share that out. In addition to sharing the Padlet with the different teachers, I also took some of them and put them on the library website so that they could see them when they went to the library checkout desk and we were looking for books. And I took some of them and printed them and put them in a binder, so if they were looking for a good book, I could put that on the counter and they could flip through there. I did tell them that they could make it for their level, or they could think back to a book that they thought a younger student would like, so that it was involving more than just like their 5th grade class, but it could involve others. So I'm always looking for good ways to have students recommend the books besides just myself. This year, however, I took the time to do some videos on the Iowa Children's Choice Award books, and I'd see some other great, really recommendation types of ideas, so I did that so I could send out that to the teachers too and get them more involved with the Iowa Children's Choice Award books. And then taking things beyond the walls. This is an area I've always had a passion for. When I was in 4th grade, we would do Skypes with other classes, and we actually connected with an author one year. She did a series of different sessions with us where we learned how to, she shared her book with us. We learned how to do some illustrations. We put together a whole community service learning project with the ARL. And so it was a great way to go beyond the walls of just in the classroom or just with a book. So global read aloud, if you don't have the chance to see Pernille Rip these 2 days, make sure you do that. I was even more inspired when I met her last year at the International Literacy Convention. But just taking a book and being able to connect with another class that's reading the same book and talk together was great. And I had a teacher do that as well this year. And they combined it with a mystery Skype. So they connected with a class that was reading PAX. And they were reading it too, but only the teachers knew where the classes were located. So they did a mystery Skype, found out where they were located, and the adults in the room, we were all laughing because you could tell that it was a Southern accent, but the kids kept asking questions like, you know, do you border Canada? Or are you in the Northeast? And we're like, listen to their accent, you know? But it was just a way for them to really see that there's things beyond their classroom. You know, they are so sheltered sometimes, and they just think that it's all about them. But getting them to, you know, see that there's other students out there doing the same thing as them and learn from them. And they ask some really good questions back and forth. I've also connected with other teachers for Picture Book Month, which is coming up in November. Did that as well. So we kind of did a shared reading back and forth. I had a class in front of me. The other teacher librarian had a class in front of her. And we took turns reading the book and then asking some questions about each other's school. So that was another way to kind of take it beyond just the usual thing. And the next part of our job is information literacy, which is a huge part.
So for me at the secondary level, probably the biggest information literacy piece that I have is working with students on research. So between my 6th grades, there's always somebody working on a research project. When I go in and talk with teachers, their need is for, you know, it varies, but they are concerned about the types of sources that their students are using. They're concerned about students being able to cite information. They're concerned about, are they actually reading what they're finding, or are they just looking for a single keyword and then copying and pasting information into a Google Doc? So taking all of those sort of needs and concerns, what I'm really kind of looking to do when I go in and work with a classroom is I'm looking to find a way to curate resources. So I use Google Sites for that. We are a Google Apps school. We're not one-to-one yet, but we have, at least in my 2 buildings, we're probably about 2-to-1 students per device. So we are able to get our hands on that, especially for research work electronically, which seems to streamline things quite a bit for us. So I use Google Sites to curate our resources. So if we're working with Eastern Civ, or if I'm working with our sophomore English, they're working on an issue that's a social issue, a concern, like maybe gun control or abortion, and they're writing an argumentative essay around that. So that's an example of what students would go to kind of work through the information seeking part. I also try to make, as you guys know, when we're talking and instructing and information seeking and in the research process, it can really bog down, right? And students can get really frustrated because there's a lot of pieces to it, and it can get boring very quickly. So one thing that I have found that works pretty well is using Socrative, which is like Kahoot, but without all of the craziness and the music that like makes you insane. And it's not quite as fun for kids, maybe, but Socrative works really well. I can have all students looking in the same article, and I can ask them a question, and I can get a response from every student, so I can see, okay, are you understanding the search strategy that I'm asking you to do? Do we understand how advanced search works? Do you understand what information in this paragraph is actually relevant? Because I know if you can do those things, and I can see that, then now you're ready to go and search for your own information. So Socrative has been a real help. And there are other tools that do that very well as well. Formative is another one. One request that I get from every classroom that I go into is students have their resources all over the place. So we use Google Docs because every student, my first year at Southeast Polk, so 4 years ago, I went into classrooms and taught students how to make Google Docs. Now I can just say, I mean, everything they do is in Google Docs all the time. So I can just say, you know, did you know that if you take a Google Doc and put a table into it, you can actually just have a graphic organizer all of a sudden. So let me see if I can get this to come on. There we go. And it's so easy, and that is probably the most excited that my teachers get. And they know that their students have created this. And so we talk about you need to find the permanent link in EBSCO, and you can copy and paste this here. You can have a note section, and then when you get to your citations, it's all in one spot. And that really has seemed to cut down on a lot of stress for not just the students, but for teachers. And it's super easy. It's not rocket science, it's research science or information science. All right. And then of course we need a way to finish up with the citations. So for us, EasyBib is what we use. At the high school we started to transition to citation machine, but some sort of online software that can work very easily with the articles that they find, and so kids can easily use those citations. The standard doesn't say that they have to memorize how to make a citation. It only says that they have to be able to make a citation in the proper format. So we don't worry too much about making them memorize that. One other way that I have done information literacy instruction, I have to do this sometimes. I don't know the kind of situations you're in, but I think we know that most of us are stretched very thin. It's a little bit more the exception to be in just one building than it is the rule at this point. So for me, what that means is when a teacher is, or as for me, it's not just one classroom teacher that is doing something, it's a whole team. So 8th grade research is starting on Monday, and everyone needs this same instruction on Monday. So that's kind of hard to do when there's 550 kids in one class without making yourself a little bit crazy. So what we have tried to do to be flexible, I worked on some different math lessons. So it's a way to deliver just-in-time instruction, okay? Teachers aren't able to wait a whole week for me to get to everybody. I'm able to accommodate classes that overlap, so maybe I have 2 sections of sophomore English that meet at the same time, and I don't want to wait a whole week to see the next section. So one thing that I did with 8th grade last year, they wanted to really kick off the research unit. They wanted kids to get fired up, and so we went into our auditorium, and I would have, there are 6 sections that meet at a time, so I would have 3 sections at once in with me, so about 90 to 100 kids. And they worked together to scan QR codes. Each QR code had a little bit of snippet of different parts of the information process. So as they scanned all of them, each time they'd get sent to a form, and it would say something like, the first one was all about curiosity. Research is investigating something that you're curious about. And I had a little video of Sheldon Cooper because, you know, why wouldn't you put Big Bang Theory into research if you possibly could. And then they would watch a little video or they'd read a little snippet of information. I asked them a quick question, which let me kind of see where are my kids thinking, what are they thinking about research, how do they feel about it, kind of help me not just for that year, but for this year coming up now. And then after they finished their form, they would get just a little snippet of a phrase. And so by the end, they've learned about, kind of got a whole picture of the research process, and they have this little diagram here that's filled in, and it said something like, research is uncovering the truth about something we're curious about, or something like that, you know. And we talked about, you know, the spark of curiosity and that being important. So things like that, QR codes, using Chromebooks, working in groups, and then having a flexible space, and maybe teachers that are willing to kind of step out of the box and let you try something, you know, teaching 90 kids at once. That's a way that I was able to streamline that. So it's definitely beneficial to me to get through all kids in one day, and that technology allowed me to do that.
And that kind of leads into what I do for a lot of my time. As I said, I'm kind of stretched thin between 3 buildings, about a day and a half at each, and lots of sections. So my schools are 17 sections, 24 sections, and 22 sections. And there's lots of students, and I'm on a fixed schedule. So besides being in charge of the library, I'm also teaching a fixed schedule technology time. So that doesn't leave me a lot of time, not a lot of time to do anything else. So the solution, and I knew this going in when I took the position, was to use technology and to use recorded lessons to be in more than one place at one time. So kind of what Michelle does, but I do this multiple times during the week. So what I do is I pre-record lessons on video and then send those out to the teachers before class time. I try to do it a long ways before class time, but sometimes it just happens like at 7:30 that morning. Some of my sections have one-to-one Chromebooks. Some of them are shared between classrooms, and we just try to get all the technology to the classroom at a certain time. So I send the teachers a video link, and then they put it up on their projector, show it to the classroom, and then I rotate through the classrooms to provide support at that time. So I have, like on Monday mornings, I have 4 sections of 4th grade, followed by 4 sections of 5th grade. They each have 45-minute classes. And then on Wednesdays, I have another section of 3 5th grades, and on Thursday, I have 2 sections of 2nd grade, 4 sections of 3rd grade, and then on Friday, 4 sections of 3rd grade and 4 sections of 4th grade. So that's how many videos I do during the week. It's usually about 7. Sometimes I can use them more than once. It's always great when I can, but sometimes it's 7 different things. They're just in different places, or the teachers just would like to collaborate on a certain topic or a certain thing. So sometimes they're just completely different videos. If you didn't see it through the Layer app, this one's a very short one. And I don't like watching myself either. I don't like listening to myself. I step out in the hallway a lot.
Hi students. Today your instructions are going to be fairly short because you will need quite a bit of time today to complete the activities. So make sure you're listening carefully because I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. You will understand that cyberbullying is picking on or harassing someone over and over again using the internet, cell phones, or social media.
Most of my videos start with
it's a type of bullying, only it's online. So we need to learn about it the same as we're learning about other types of bullying so we can make sure we can stop it. You will show me that you understand cyberbullying by completing some online activities and creating a cyberbullying poster on Google Drawings. What you're going to be doing here in a little bit, and I will put up the instructions, is you will be going to a link that I've put here on the 4th grade Symbaloo called Cyberbullying. It will take you to the Learning Lab.
This is a fairly short one, but I continue showing them the activity that they're going to do, and then I have an example.
But I want.
And then usually towards the end, I have a set of instructions.
Symbaloo, the directions
so the teacher
can how to get to it from the
pause that at the
place.
end and go over the instructions with them if needed. So that's kind of what I have to do. It would seem that anywhere from 3 to my longer ones are sometimes 10 minutes if it's somewhere where I need, okay, now we're going to pause, we're going to do this, and now we're going to continue to do the instructions on the video. It would seem that wouldn't take a lot of time, but it does. You know, I might have an idea that this is a lesson they're going to do, and if I was teaching it in real time, which I do get to do at one of my schools, it doesn't take as much prep. When I have to have all my tabs open and my notes near me, and I you know, when I mess up, I tend to be a perfectionist. I want to do it again. So then I have to start all over and record it again. It can take, you know, 45 minutes to record a 7-minute lesson just because of all the things I have to set up and get ready and kind of feel like I'm prepared to do it all at once. So some good things about doing the lessons on video. It's definitely a great solution for those 2 buildings where I have multiple sections and I can see them more than, you know, I can get all of the classes done in one small chunk of time. Also, the common time is less repetitive, and so are my lessons. Instead of doing them, you know, 22 times, you know, or whatever it happens to be, I only have to do it once. Sometimes I have to tweak them slightly, and this comes in where, like, maybe certain schools have certain passwords to get into things, and then I share that. Well, then it's not going to be the same for the same school, but I can just kind of watch the video for a couple minutes and then redo it, changing something slightly. Some of the cons, and this is a big one, that's relationship building. And that's one of my most important things. I can tell a huge difference at the school that I'm doing real life, like right now lessons, compared to the ones where I'm jumping in and out of the classroom. I have 4 classrooms at the same time, so I go and check on this classroom, and then someone knocks on the door, like, we need you over here. So I run over there, and then I'm, okay, how are you doing? And I'll ask the kids questions, and at the end of the 45 minutes, I'm like, what did I just do? Like, it was just craziness. So that's a little harder. Since I don't like, bus interruptions, it's bus 37, I'm trying to do a video, I often have to do them at home. So that's either, late at night or early in the morning when I know the phone's not going to be ringing or, things aren't going to interrupt me. And then when technology fails, it's really hard to have a backup plan, because if I have 100 students at the same time and the internet's down and the teachers are going, so now what should we do? I'm like, I don't know. Get out a book to read, because I can't necessarily get them all into one space to do something with them. So that is a little bit harder. Also, I've noticed some teachers, well, I mean, this is like with any teacher. Some teachers are really hands-on. They'll watch the video ahead of time. They'll interject things. They'll be like, okay, students, now remember Mrs. Houlette said this, and now we're going to do this. And this really relates to what we're doing in science. And other teachers just like sit in the back of the room and don't do anything, even if 10 kids have their hands up. And then also when there's a sub, that's also a really tricky thing, because sometimes, you know, the teacher won't even have the computer on and it's time for us to go, and then kids are all in different places. And just processing, when I try to make a video, sometimes like, come on, it's time to get this video up and running. But it's still worth it. I love what I do. So last year, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was first week of school. I used Google Hangouts. The first time I did it live, like I actually did a live Google Hangout, I was in one classroom and the other classrooms joined in, and that was a total disaster. So it only took 2 days to figure that out, because, you know, I couldn't walk away from my computer. I was stuck behind the computer and I could not even walk around and see what kids were doing, and if I walked away, then all they were seeing was, you know, the back of the classroom. And so then what I did is I did a live Google Hangout with myself, you know, at 7 o'clock in the morning, recorded it, sent the teachers the YouTube link. I did that for a couple weeks at the beginning of the year, and then I started, through things that I was doing and through things that the students were doing, we had some issues with YouTube, because at the end of the videos, if you didn't catch it in time, bam, like, yeah, there was a parent email. So I was like, I cannot do that any longer. I can't take the chance that the teacher's going to pause it at the very end and it won't splash something up on the screen. That's going to be a problem. So I've been, you know, taking the YouTube link and then turning that into a SafeTube link so that there's not any issues with that. I've used Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify, kind of depends. I think the Screencastify works on my Chromebook. No, Screencastify works on my Chromebook and my other computer. I think the Screencast-O-Matic maybe just works on the.
It doesn't work on Chromebook.
Yeah, it doesn't work on Chromebook. So depending on what device I have with myself in it, but I have been taking whichever one I use, uploading it to YouTube, and then taking YouTube, changing it to a SafeTube link. And yeah, if anyone has any great suggestions for what to try besides that, I'd be glad to know that. I did a lot last year where I would start out with my face on the screen and be like, hi students, this is Mrs. Houlette, today we're gonna do this, and then I was like, oh, I hate looking at myself. So this year I haven't done as much of that, except for when I've been showing things, like we did a digital citizenship toolbox last week, so I showed my little tool, so you could, then I had to move all my text out of the corner so you could still see me in the corner when I was showing things. So it's a work in progress, but it definitely keeps challenging me. So additional notes, combining classes means that I have more flex time and I have more time in the actual library where I want to be as well. I can send the videos when I'm not there, so I sent 4th and 5th grade their videos this morning so that they could continue on doing the lesson that I had provided. And like I said, it's always a challenge, and it makes me think on my feet because I have to adapt things to what we're doing this year. It might not be the same as last year. Another thing with information technology has been digital citizenship, and our district a couple years ago did like 6-12, sort of a scope and sequence type of thing, and this summer did K through 5. We've been starting off using a lot of the lessons from Common Sense Media, and so each grade level suggested different lessons to try. And so when I work with the students, they have a device. They either have Chromebooks or they have desktop computers, mostly Chromebooks though, even kindergarten. That's another story about how to get kindergartners on Chromebooks. So I've been taking those lessons from Common Sense Media and trying to adapt them to put on slides to do on a video presentation, or to have some component where the students are getting on the computer and doing something. So I have put things into a website that I've used, put things onto slides to try to accommodate not only when I'm face-to-face with the students, but when I have to videotape it and have that available. So that's another thing that is something I'm working on a lot this year, is how to put technology into things that don't necessarily have it to begin with? How can we give them that experience? All right, and supporting staff and students.
All right, so one way that I've been able to do this, I've been fortunate in my building that I can get on the PD schedule from time to time, and that's really valuable for me, especially since I work kind of on demand. So the more I can get in front of my staff, the greater chance that I'm going to have collaboration opportunities. In fact, I'll have another chance coming up because our kind of building rule is if you go to something, you need to share something. If you take some time out of the district, then you need to share what you learned. So this is a PD session that I did a couple of years ago after being at iTech. Teachers' need for presentations that went, more authentic student product in the classroom instead of just a slideshow. So we did a session on different presentation tools that students could be using other than just, put 5 facts on a slide and, have this and you can't have more than an index card. So we talked about Easily, which is an infographic program. We talked about ThingLink, which I already kind of highlighted before. ThingLink is great not just to present as a teacher, but for students to create. You can also use ThingLink if students go to thinglink.com and start searching for things that they're researching. They are going to find other information as well. So it's a great place for students to go and explore. It's a great tool for teachers to use, and it's a great tool for students to use. It's very easy to use. Canva is a great design if you're wanting students to make a poster. A lot of teachers will still have kids color a poster even though they have iPads or Chromebooks in their room. Canva is an app now. It also works with Chromebooks. It works with laptops. So that is a great place to go. And S'more is a digital poster.
Library website is where I contain a lot of the things that I have my students use, and it started as a grad class assignment, so it was a have to, but it turned into, I kept wanting to put more and more things on it just so it would be useful to me. And then I took the library website and I copied it from my other 2 schools, changed the pictures, changed some of the insides of the websites. But I found that a lot of students are using it this year, so it's great. There's a link to the library catalog, and there's links to have students. There's a Padlet about what are they reading right now, and some different things like what are the new books in our library. And then the student links page is also good. There's a link to the AA online resources, so that's easy for them to find. I have my website that I put a lot of their, I wouldn't say it's missions, but sort of a lot of their things that they have to do, or quick links so that I don't have to send them out by Google Docs on there as well. So it's just been a way to get information out to students mostly. I want to take the time to tell teachers that there's a lot of resources on there for them to use as well. Just haven't had time this first little bit of school, but it's something that I enjoy putting together and having everything in one place.
And then the last sometimes overlooked category that we want to just briefly talk about is library administration and organization. As we all know, there's probably so much more we could do here if we had time. One thing I did this year that was kind of fun, I see all of my junior high students and my freshmen for library orientation. They're, especially 7th graders are in a new building, 9th graders are in a new building, so I want to see them, kind of introduce them to the library. And the first year I was here, I think I talked, and I probably lost my voice by the end of 2 weeks. Last year we used QR codes, and that worked pretty well, but I realized that students weren't interacting with the information a whole lot because they just want to scan it, and then they want to go and scan something else, and then they want to go and scan something else. So this time I kind of tried to play out Pokemon Go just a little bit, which 7th graders were super excited about, and 8th graders were like, whatever, except they were really excited about it too. But 8th grade. So we used the Layer app, so the same app you guys were using, scanning these memes. And I used Pokemon, and I actually cut around them because I wanted them to look like real Pokemon. And so that was my way. Each Pokemon was in a physical area of the library where I wanted them to know about something. So you can see this is one actually at our circulation desk. And so here's a couple guys, they actually found one, and so they're going to scan it. And then when they scanned it, it took them to a Google form. That form told them some information about that part of the library. So this is a circulation desk. This is where Mrs. Armentrout sits. You can have your books for 2 weeks. This is where you renew books. All those kinds of housekeeping things. And then they had to answer a quick question about it. And some of the questions asked them to come and talk to me about my favorite fiction genre, or go ask your classroom teacher what their favorite book is. And so it worked really well for us. They liked using AR or the Layer app. It was a lot more interactive, a little bit more fun than a QR code. And setting up Layer is pretty easy. Works very well with any web links that you want to pull in. And I would definitely use it again because kids were able to use it very quickly and they really enjoyed it. And then just for some planning and organization, and no doubt you have your own system, but some things that have worked really well for us, I would kind of consider them low tech, but I am using technology for them. Since I'm in 2 different buildings, I like to keep track of circulation week by week, and I like to keep track of my different collaborations, how many students I'm seeing, and then this gets shared with my principals, and I can kind of chart year to year, did our circulation go up? Am I collaborating more? And I can also go back and look at last year's and, oh yeah, we had this unit in 8th grade around about November. I need to get in touch with these guys and see what we can do again this year. Kind of keeps me on top of the different collaborations that I use. It's super easy to set up, plus I can turn that into a chart if I want, just Google Sheets. Very easy.
Yeah, and I've had some teachers that have shared with me like their spreadsheet of their semester plan, like when they're doing this unit, when they're doing that unit, by week, not like specific lessons. I've also sent out just a simple Google Doc saying, hey, what's coming up in the next few weeks? Is there anything special that you want to do? Because even though I'd love to, I just don't have time to sit down with 63 teachers or even, however many sections to do that. So
yeah, it's hard to get to all those planning meetings when you're the one working during their planning time.
We do have some questions. So
yes, we do. Yeah, let's go ahead and, so we'll pull up a couple questions that we had here on the Padlet.
It's on there.
There it is. Okay, so you want to go?
Sure, I'll start over here. It says, what do you use to screencast? So right now I'm trying Screencast-O-Matic and Screencastify. I like some things about each. I think, I'm trying to remember which one's what. Just Screencast-O-Matic, I like that you can pause because sometimes I need to think about what I'm saying. So that goes with the next one. Do you script all the lessons that you record? No. Sometimes I'll do a number 1, number 2, number 3, just like this is what I'm doing next so I don't forget. Because when I try to just do it on the fly, it's a lot more ums than I usually say, and I usually say a lot of ums. Mystery Skype is where you connect with another teacher, and I did this a lot with 4th grade because we did regions, so we're learning about other states, but you can do it. I've seen number Skypes, I've seen Skypes just for you want to know where someone else is, and then you talk about something. But you and the other teacher connect, so you know where each other is from, and then the students have jobs. So one might be the greeter, a couple might be mappers, they might have physical maps or Google Maps or whatever happens to be, there's questioners. They each have their own job to try to figure out where that other class is located. So you take turns, each class asks a question and then answers it, and the teacher is basically hands off because we know where the other class is from, so we can't really give any hints or lead them in a certain direction or just say, no, you're kind of going in the wrong direction. It's a way for the students to problem solve, work together, stick to their own task and not butt into somebody else's task. And then usually it ends up with, we have a book discussion or we talk about each other's state, learn about it. So that's something kind of fun. Let's see, is Layer like a Erasmus?
I haven't actually used Erasmus, but when I used, although I do kind of want to look at it, you can go to Layer. It's very easy to set up an account. It's very easy to start, pulling your images in. And the format that works the best for me, at least, is just to have everything as like a website or a web link. They do have a video option. It doesn't work as well, especially if it's not like it wasn't compatible with SafeTube. It was compatible with YouTube, but then it shows all the ads and all that kind of stuff too. So.
Thanks for the tip on the YouTube issues. I thought about sharing it to Google Drive. On Fridays, there's lots of substitutes, so then they don't have access to Google Drive, or sometimes the teacher doesn't know they're going to be gone until that day, and sometimes I don't know that they're gone until I walk into their room. So that's why I've been trying to have the link, and then I can at least write down the link, walk into the classroom, get on a computer, and go to it if the teacher isn't able to bring it up on their computer.
I just happened to notice the comment on the genreification in the library. Elementary libraries are not right now. I turned 7th through 12th genreified, And so far so good on that. That's been very positive. It's just our fiction. I didn't do our nonfiction because that isn't circulated quite as much. But our fiction has been, especially at the junior high, we're circulating even more from doing that. So if anyone has questions about that, I'd love to chat about that when we're done here in a minute.
The Layer is a free app.
Okay, so Layer is free, the app is free. There is a little twist when it comes to publishing something. I have a workaround that I can share with you. I'm not going to put it on Padlet though.
Yeah.
So, and they do have a site for education too. And then the other one I wanted to mention, the presentation tools that you can use with students under 13. ThingLink has a teacher site and you can actually share it out through your teacher site. That's how you would work it with students that are under 13. I guess I'm not sure on Easily.
I just chatted them and they said that they are not any interest.
There you go. Love it. Okay. So we are at 2:11. So we want to give you guys time to get to your next session. If anyone has questions for us, we can hang out for a few more minutes. Thank you so much for coming
thank
today.
you.
It's been fun to share with you guys.